So you want to improve your time in range, but where do you even start? It can be so overwhelming. It can feel like you've got to basically just be perfect in order to budge those numbers. But perfection is not necessary. Instead, there's one thing, there's a lot of things you can do to improve your time in range, but here's one thing that I know will help you make a big impact on that number. Oh, wait, but first, don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, subscribe to the Diabetes Nerd channel. I appreciate your support. All right, improving your time in range means preventing those highs, but most often, probably, I'm guessing, the time of day that you're having the most trouble keeping your blood sugar down is after eating. Here's the tricky thing. We're told at the doctor's office to take all of our insulin for a meal right before we start eating. Maybe a little bit before if we can, but pre-bolusing sucks. And that's not what this video is about, I promise. Instead, I'm talking about looking at the meal and thinking about how is this meal going to digest? Because it's not going to digest in the next 2 hours. Some meals digest very slowly. That means that you might actually not need your entire meal bolus up front. Or it means you might need that bolus plus a second bolus a little later on. For example, if you're eating any meal that has a lot of carbs and a lot of fat, it's going to digest pretty slowly. And your insulin dose for that meal might cover the first 3 to 4 hours of digestion. But what about hours 5, 6, and 7? That's why your blood sugar might be rising hours after you eat. You took all that insulin up front, but you need a second dose of insulin. Now, if you use an insulin pump, this is a little easier because you can set a square wave bolus or a dual wave bolus, or if you have a looping pump, then you're automatically getting more insulin based on your blood sugar data. For those of us on injections, we've got to consciously think about the fact that that meal is still digesting. And this isn't really just about meals like pizza and tacos or cupcakes or lasagna, like the really starchy, really high fat meals. This can also apply to things like an apple with a whole lot of peanut butter, toast with brie and fig spread on top. Those, by the way, are 2 of my favorite meals. So how do you know if you need a second dose of insulin to cover your meal? Well, look at the data. Is your blood sugar hanging pretty steady for the first 3 hours and then starts to rise again around hour 4? That's telling you you need more mealtime insulin for the rest of that digestion. I know it's weird. Why don't they teach this at the doctor's office? Honestly, because it's complicated, because it's hard to explain and there's not an exact science of, well, how much more insulin do I take for that meal? You've got to do some experimenting. For example, if I were to eat gluten-free pizza, which I love, especially from a local pizzeria that's got the wood-fired oven and it's all so delicious, I know that I need a bolus when I start eating, and then 4 hours later, I need nearly a bolus almost the same size as the first bolus. But imagine if I had taken both of those doses all at once. My blood sugar would crash by hour 3 after eating. That's why we need to divide and conquer. Think about a working pancreas. If your pancreas was working properly, when you eat, it doesn't just sploosh, put tons of insulin into your system. It's reacting to your blood sugar as that meal is digesting. You are trying to manually match the digestion of that meal with injections or an insulin pump. Just the way your pancreas gradually releases more and more insulin as that pizza meal gradually digests. What if you're eating late at night, which honestly is something I do most days of the week? It can be very daunting to take a second dose of insulin when your blood sugar is still in range and you're about to go to sleep. But if you just ate a high carb, high fat meal, you know you're gonna need more insulin. If I'm eating pizza at 7 p.m., that means I'm gonna need another dose of insulin around 10 or 11, right before bed. So how do you take that big bolus of insulin right before bed when you're really nervous about it? Okay, start small. Don't take as much as you probably need. Anticipate the fact that you're probably gonna be a little high by midnight, and then you'll have the evidence you need for the next time you eat that meal. The evidence that says, yes, I did need a good sized second bolus to help with the rest of the digestion of that meal. And take good notes. Write down what you did. Write down what happens. Achieving your time and range goals is not a magical mystery. It's really about learning how to get enough insulin at the right times of day. And that takes experimenting. Little adjustments here and there, looking at the data and not getting mad at yourself when it doesn't go right. It's okay. If your blood sugar is high after a situation, it doesn't mean you're terrible at managing diabetes. It means, hey, you needed more insulin. Then you get to work on figuring out how much more insulin and perhaps which type of more insulin you needed. Learn more about managing insulin doses in my latest book, Exercise with Type 1 Diabetes. You can find it on Amazon.